The war that found us. In the endless void of space, where empires had risen and fallen for millennia, humanity was little more than a whisper, an unnoticed ember on the fringes of galactic history. The vast civilizations of the stars, their fleets numbering in the thousands, had long waged war against each other. Titans of industry, warlords of unimaginable power, and ancient beings with wisdom beyond reckoning, all had shaped the galactic order in ways humanity had never dreamed of. To them, Earth was an afterthought, an unremarkable rock orbiting an ordinary star. The species that inhabited it had only just begun to scratch at the surface of spaceflight. They had not achieved faster-than-light travel, had no war fleets, and no grand alliances with other civilizations. Compared to the immense power of the galaxy's greatest nations, humanity was primitive, fragile, and inconsequential. But war has a way of finding those who do not seek it. It began as a distant conflict, fought in the cold darkness between two galactic superpowers. The Xilari Dominion, a species of ruthless conquerors who saw war as a means of ascension, and the Vorak Imperium, an enigmatic race of biomechanical beings whose mastery over technology made them nearly unstoppable. Their war had lasted thousands of years, a struggle that had ravaged entire star systems. No civilization had ever truly won, and yet neither side could afford to stop. Earth had nothing to do with it. Then, in a single stroke of fate, the war came crashing into the Sol system. A Xilari fleet, desperate and wounded from an ambush, limped into human space, unaware that the insignificant system they had entered was home to an intelligent race. They did not care. They only needed time to repair their ships, to regroup before the Vorak forces inevitably followed. But the Vorak did follow, and they did not hesitate. A brutal battle erupted, with Earth caught in the middle. At first, humanity could only watch in horror as alien warships, massive constructs of fire and metal, tore into each other above their world. The first explosions were mistaken for meteors, burning trails across the sky. Then, the truth became clear. Satellite feeds captured glimpses of the battle, colossal ships exchanging blinding lances of energy, dark metallic constructs maneuvering with impossible speed, and explosions that sent debris raining down onto the planet. The first casualties came swiftly. A damaged Xilari warship, its engines crippled, was caught in Earth's gravity well and crashed into the Atlantic, triggering tsunamis that wiped out entire coastlines. Another, still smoldering from Vorak weapon fire, lost control and came down over Eastern Europe, reducing cities to rubble. Humanity had not fired a single shot, yet millions were already dead. Earth's government scrambled to understand what was happening. Messages were broadcast in every known language, demanding the alien fleets cease their battle. No response came. It was as if humanity did not exist, as if the two warring civilizations saw them as nothing more than insects beneath their feet. That was their first mistake. When humanity is faced with an existential threat, it does not cower. It does not surrender. It fights. What the Xilari and Vorak had failed to realize was that humans, while technologically inferior, were nothing if not resourceful. They had spent centuries perfecting the art of war, learning to wage battle not through superior firepower, but through strategy, innovation, and sheer, unbreakable will. Within hours, every nation on Earth had united under a single purpose: survival. Militaries mobilized, scientists worked around the clock to decipher alien transmissions, and engineers began repurposing whatever technology they could scavenge. What little was understood about extraterrestrial propulsion and weaponry was fed into Earth's last-ditch effort, a desperate attempt to fight back against beings who saw them as insignificant. The first human strike was not a grand battle, not a fleet of warships rising to meet the enemy. It was a single missile, launched from an Earth-based defense station, aimed at a crippled Xilari cruiser that had been descending toward the planet. It struck true, tearing through the alien vessel's hull, sending it spiraling into the ocean in a fiery blaze. That was the moment the war changed. For the first time, Humanity was acknowledged. The Vorak and Silari commanders, who had disregarded Earth's inhabitants as little more than primitive bystanders, suddenly found themselves under attack by a species they had never encountered before, one that fought with a level of desperation they had never seen. What happened next was unlike anything in galactic history. Human fighter jets, built for atmospheric combat and incapable of spaceflight, launched in swarms, using their speed and maneuverability to outmatch the bulky alien warships that were never designed to fight in a gravity well. Pilots used every trick in the book, diving through storm clouds to avoid energy-based targeting, using the curvature of the Earth to break line of sight, even ramming damaged enemy vessels when no other option remained. Ground forces, armed with nothing but conventional weaponry, took the fight to the crashed alien forces, learning their weaknesses in real time, adapting their strategies with every engagement. What they lacked in energy shielding and plasma-based weaponry, they made up for in sheer determination. More than once, a seemingly doomed human strike team emerged victorious simply because they refused to die. The Xilari and Vorak were not prepared for this. Their war had been fought in predictable ways, with weapons of unimaginable destruction clashing in battles, where strategy often boiled down to brute force. Humanity did not fight like that. They fought dirty. They fought smart. And they fought like they had nothing to lose. Within days, what had begun as a galactic battle between two mighty civilizations had turned into something no one had expected. A three-way war. Humanity, once nothing more than an afterthought, had become an active participant in a conflict that spanned the stars. The galaxy had underestimated them. That would be their second mistake. As the shattered remnants of the Vorak and Silari fleets pulled back to regroup, the leaders of both factions faced a sobering reality. They had entered the Sol system expecting to find an unremarkable planet inhabited by primitives. Instead, they had found a species that fought harder than any they had ever encountered, a species that refused to bow even when faced with certain annihilation. And worse still, they had left behind something of incalculable value. Wreckage. Pieces of technology more advanced than anything humanity had ever seen. Ships, weapons, energy cores. Remnants of alien war machines, now in the hands of the most unpredictable force in the galaxy. Earth had not asked for this war. But now, standing amidst the ruins of their cities, with alien ships burning in the skies above them, humanity made a silent vow. They would never be caught unprepared again. And the galaxy? It would come to regret ever underestimating them. The sparks of vengeance. The fires of war had scarred Earth's surface, but its people still stood. They were bruised, battered, but not broken. In the days following the alien battle over Earth, the planet had become a graveyard of fallen titans. The remnants of the Vorak and Silari warships lay scattered across continents and oceans, great hunks of alien metal embedded in the land like celestial wreckage. Some still smoldered, their strange alloys resisting Earth's atmosphere and heat, while others had sunk into the ocean, disappearing beneath the waves. But all of them, every single shard of alien debris, was a gift of knowledge, a gift of power, and humanity was quick to claim it. Governments, corporations, military leaders, and independent scavengers alike rushed to the wreckage sites, racing against each other to be the first to seize the alien technology. The once mighty Xilari warship that had crashed in the Sahara became a battlefield in itself, as national militaries competed to secure its remains. In Russia, an entire Vorak dreadnought had been torn in half before impact, with its shattered remains spread across the tundra. In the Pacific, submarines hunted through the deep for fragments of alien reactors, desperate to reverse engineer anything they could find. For the first time in history, humanity was no longer bound by its own technological limitations. But time was against them. The Vorak and Silari had retreated, but not for long. Both sides had suffered unexpected losses, and neither had anticipated the resilience of Earth's inhabitants. They would return, perhaps not immediately, but they would. And when they did, It would not be as two warring factions caught in their own struggle. No, this time, they would come united in one purpose: extermination. Humanity had proven itself to be more than an insect, and that made them a threat. Earth had no choice but to evolve. The Great Reclamation. It was in the ruins of these fallen war machines that the real battle began. The battle for survival. Scientists worked without rest, deciphering the inner workings of alien propulsion drives, energy shielding, and exotic weaponry. Engineers toiled in underground facilities, trying to retrofit humanity's primitive technology with whatever alien advancements they could scavenge. At first, progress was slow. Humanity lacked the understanding to wield this power. But humans had always been quick learners. And when desperation was added to the equation, nothing could stop them. The first major breakthrough came from a Vorak ship fragment recovered in Central Europe. Scientists discovered a shattered energy core that, despite being damaged, still emitted a low-energy pulse. It defied everything known about human physics, bending light in ways that seemed impossible. It took weeks of intense study before a single conclusion was drawn. This was the key to energy shielding. It had always been thought that force fields were the stuff of science fiction, something centuries beyond human reach. But now, humanity held the evidence in their hands, and within months, crude prototypes were developed. They were weak, fragile, and inefficient at first, but soon, Earth's best minds refined them, creating the first human-made energy shields. Not yet strong enough to stop a direct energy blast from an alien warship, but more than enough to change the tide of battle. Meanwhile, engineers in secret bunkers deep beneath the Rocky Mountains had managed to salvage an alien railgun from a Vorak frigate. Its design was a masterpiece of destruction, a weapon that could accelerate projectiles to near-light speed, punching through steel as if it were paper. The first tests were failures. The power requirements were too great, the materials too advanced. But as the days passed, the setbacks turned into progress. The first human railgun was mounted onto an experimental jet just 4 months after the battle for Earth. The moment it fired, humanity had taken another step toward leveling the playing field. And they were only getting started. The rise of the First Fleet. As scavengers continued to pull technology from the wreckage, the realization dawned on Earth's leaders. This wasn't just about defending the planet. This was about taking the fight beyond the stars. It was no longer enough to sit and wait for the Vorak and Silari to return. By then, it would be too late. Humanity needed a fleet that could meet the enemy before they reached Earth, that could strike where they were least expected. But Earth had no fleet. Until now. Using salvaged auxiliary hulls and Vorak propulsion cores, humanity's first spacefaring warships were constructed in secret. The process was rushed, chaotic, welding human ingenuity to alien technology in a desperate attempt to create something that could survive in the depths of space. The HSS Vengeance was the first of its kind, a warship that was neither fully human nor fully alien, but something new, something that had never existed before in the galaxy. It lacked the raw power of the Vorak, the sheer size of the auxiliary, but it had something neither of them had ever considered: adaptability. Where alien warships relied on brute strength and overwhelming firepower, the Vengeance was designed to outthink, outmaneuver, and outblast. And it was only the beginning. The ghosts of the battlefield. While the First Fleet was being built, another war was waged in the shadows. Humanity's greatest advantage was not in their warships, but in their ability to wage unconventional warfare. Elite squads of soldiers, known only as ghost teams, were trained to infiltrate and sabotage any returning alien forces. Armed with human-modified Vorak cloaking devices, they became invisible specters on the battlefield, capable of striking unseen and vanishing without a trace. Their first mission came sooner than expected. A auxiliary reconnaissance drone had returned to the Sol system, scouting the wreckage for any surviving auxiliary technology. If it reported back to its command fleet, Earth's preparations would be discovered too soon. The Ghosts intercepted it. The mission was not without casualties. 2 operatives were lost when the drone's automated defenses activated, but in the end, the mission was a success. The drone was hacked, its memory wiped, and it was sent back with false data. Earth was still a shattered world, crippled and vulnerable. It was a lie, a carefully crafted deception. Because by the time the enemy returned, Earth would not be the same planet they had left behind. The dawn of humanity's reckoning. The Vorak and Siluri believed that humanity was still weak, still licking its wounds. They were wrong. Humanity was preparing. Factories hidden beneath mountains churned out weapons beyond anything Earth had ever created. New warships, small but deadly, began to take shape in orbital shipyards. Railguns were mounted onto satellite platforms, turning Earth's orbit into a fortress. And deep within classified research facilities, scientists worked on something even greater, something that could not only match the alien threat but surpass it. The Vorak and Siluri had made a mistake when they ignored Earth. Their second mistake was leaving behind their technology. Their final mistake, underestimating what humanity could do with it. And when the enemy returned, they would not find a broken world. They would find vengeance. The war machine awakens. In the months that followed the first battle for Earth, humanity transformed into something new. No longer just a species bound to its homeworld, it had become a civilization at war, an industrial giant, burning through resources at an unprecedented rate. The factories of Earth, once dedicated to commercial industries and consumer luxuries, had been converted into engines of war. Assembly lines that once built cars and electronics now churned out plasma rifles, kinetic railgun ammunition, and experimental power cells reverse-engineered from Vorak reactors. Entire cities became military hubs. The skies of Earth were filled with the constant movement of warplanes, drones, and transport carriers ferrying supplies to hidden underground bunkers. The oceans were no longer merely waters of commerce but testing grounds for hybrid submarines, some utilizing Vorak propulsion systems that could slip through sonar undetected. And in orbit, a new shadow loomed over Earth. The first fleet was nearing completion, forging the Iron Shield. Humanity had learned the hard way that the skies were no longer safe. The Vorak had arrived with orbital supremacy, and Earth had nearly fallen because of it. Never again. Construction of Earth's planetary defense network became a top priority. Orbiting platforms were outfitted with salvaged alien weapons, reinforced with crude but effective human ingenuity. Some were repurposed from old satellite stations, their civilian technology stripped away and replaced with missile batteries and automated targeting systems. Others were completely new, great defense stations armed with ship-sized railguns designed to shatter anything that dared approach Earth. It wasn't just defense, though. Humanity was learning from its enemy, adapting their strategies. Vorak warships had overwhelmed Earth through sheer numbers and firepower. The Siluri had maneuvered with elegance, utilizing their superior cloaking fields. So humanity took the best of both. The Aegis Line was born, a network of stealth satellites and drone platforms hidden within Earth's orbital debris field, each carrying weapons designed to disrupt enemy formations. Some held gravity mines, capable of pulling enemy vessels into chaotic spins. Others housed EMP charges, specifically designed to fry Vorak targeting systems. If another invasion fleet arrived, they wouldn't find a defenseless planet. They'd find a battlefield already rigged in humanity's favor. Weapons of the New Age. While Earth's defenses took shape, the brightest minds continued their work on the next evolution of warfare. Scientists in Geneva had finally cracked the secrets of Vorak shielding technology. The result was crude but effective. The Bastion system, the first human-made energy barrier, capable of deflecting high-speed projectiles and mitigating energy-based attacks. It was still weaker than Vorak warship shielding, but it was human-made, which meant it could be improved, refined, and mass-produced. On the other side of the world, a team of engineers in Japan was working on a new form of propulsion, one that combined Vorak plasma drive principles with Siluri energy fields. The first tests were failures, ending in catastrophic explosions. But after months of trial and error, the Spectre Drive was created, a revolutionary system that allowed human ships to phase shift temporarily, disrupting enemy targeting systems and allowing near-instantaneous course corrections in combat. Then there was the Thunderstrike cannon. Developed in secret beneath the Ural Mountains, it was humanity's answer to the Vorak dreadnoughts. A railgun so powerful that its projectiles could achieve a fraction of light speed, capable of punching through an enemy warship in a single devastating shot. Unlike Vorak plasma lances, which burned through armor gradually, the Thunderstrike cannon was pure kinetic destruction. A single hit could obliterate a warship, sending molten debris scattering in all directions. But the most terrifying development of all came from the shadows: the Phantom Initiative. While Earth's war machine continued to evolve, another battle was being fought in silence. The Phantom Initiative was a classified Black Ops project, dedicated to a singular goal: infiltrating enemy space. Earth had no interstellar fleet, not yet. Humanity was still years away from building ships capable of long-range travel. But that didn't mean it was defenseless. Using salvaged Vorak stealth technology, Phantom operatives had created something terrifying: infiltration pods. These small, nearly undetectable capsules were designed for one thing: to be launched deep into Vorak or auxiliary space, where they would attach themselves to enemy warships or outposts. Once inside, elite human operatives, modified with cybernetic implants and specialized neural enhancements, would strike from within, sabotaging critical systems before vanishing into the void. The first Phantom team was deployed in complete secrecy. Their target, a Vorak communications relay on the edge of their empire. The mission was simple: infiltrate, plant a virus into the Vorak network, leave undetected. It should have been impossible. It wasn't. The team succeeded beyond expectations. Within hours of the virus being deployed, Vorak communication networks in the sector collapsed. Entire fleets were left without orders. Supply lines broke. Panic spread. The Vorak never even knew what hit them. And that was just the beginning. The enemy awakens. Unbeknownst to humanity, the Vorak and Silari had not forgotten Earth. For months, deep in the void of space, Vorak warlords and Silari high commanders had debated the fate of the rogue world that had disrupted their war. Some called for immediate destruction, a cleansing bombardment that would turn Earth into a lifeless rock. Others saw an opportunity, believing that humanity could be used, their aggression turned into a weapon for their own purposes. But one thing was clear to both empires: humanity was no longer an afterthought. They were a threat. A Vorak fleet, larger than the one before, began preparations for war. Their dreadnoughts were reforged, their weapons recalibrated for planetary annihilation. There would be no mistakes this time. On the other side of the galaxy, the Xilari made their own plans. Unlike the Vorak, they were not driven purely by destruction. They were strategists, manipulators, and they had seen something in humanity, something dangerous, something powerful, something they needed to control. For the first time in their long history, the Vorak and Silari came to an agreement. Earth could not be ignored. And so, as humanity sharpened its blades, as warships rose from the ground and defenses locked into place, an unseen storm was already coming, a fleet beyond anything Earth had ever faced. And at its head, something far worse than war. A choice: the final stand or the first strike. As Earth prepared for the return of its enemies, the leaders of the new War Council faced a single agonizing question. Would they wait for the Vorak and Silari to come, to bring fire and death to their world again? Or would they do the unthinkable? Would they strike first? Would they take the war to the stars? Humanity stood at the edge of a decision that would define its future. A future of war. A future of vengeance. A future where Earth would either be conquered or ascendant.